On Memorial Day, the Nevada Department of Veterans Services held a special ceremony to remember our country's fallen heroes. Reporter Alicia Pattillo joins us live from Boulder City, where many came to pay their respects to the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in service of our country. Alicia.
Hello, Dave. That is right. As you can see behind me, many families are still here. Many have decorated their loved ones' gravesite with flowers, balloons, and more. It was a bittersweet day here at the Southern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery as officials, veterans, and fellow Nevadans gathered to reflect on those lost.
When the flag blows, it's not the wind doing it. It's the breath of the last veterans.
The red, white, and blue proudly decorate the tens of thousands of graves at the Southern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Boulder City. The Nevada Department of Veterans Services remembering those who gave everything so that Americans can be free to have anything.
God bless America, land that I love.
Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak addressing the crowd as keynote speaker.
Today we honor and pay tribute to those who sacrificed everything for service and duty to our country. I want to recognize the family and friends of our fallen service members.
Outside the ceremony, we found this Henderson family gathered around the gravesite of a beloved husband, father, and Army veteran.
My family and I are here today honoring my father-in-law, who served in World War II under George Patton and saw a lot of action in Europe.
While honoring the life of U.S. Army Private First Class James S. Price, his daughter, Carol, reflects on the man he was.
Oh, I'm starting to cry. Sorry. He was such a wonderful example of a man. He honored our mother and he treasured his children.
While it doesn't get any easier to bear the loss of Price and his wife Betty, coming here, sitting by her parents' gravesite, gives her comfort.
When he left and then Mama left a few years later, that they just left a hole in our hearts. You know, and that's why we're here going to have lunch with them. We truly love them.
Well, on behalf of Channel 13, we would like to thank all of our veterans from all across the world, and especially right here in our valley, for their service and their sacrifice. In Boulder City, I'm Alicia Pattillo reporting.
Thanks, Alicia. And to remember those who have died serving our country, City Hall will be lit up with our flag tonight and tomorrow. Another event here in the valley honoring those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A service was held at Woodlawn Cemetery in North Las Vegas with Mayor Carolyn Goodman and Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. Photojournalist Steve Smallwood recaps the event.
Those we have loved the dearest, the bravest and the best, are summoned from the battle to their eternal rest.
From prior generations whose shoulders we stand upon, and from those who did care, who did love, who loved this country. They sacrificed in the ultimate sense so we could be free.
And the long three-day weekend is mostly over, meaning heavy traffic will begin along I-15 as people head back home. On the left is video of I-15 to California. At last check, the RTC reported a 12-mile backup. And on the right, a live look from the area. Today marks the unofficial start to summer, which means Lake Mead is going to be busy. Flocks of people made it out to the lake this morning for Memorial Day, and the experience this time around just a bit different. Reporter Alyssa Bethencourt explains how the lake continuing to shrink in size, which means the number of boat launches was limited, and it wasn't all smooth sailing.
It's a beautiful day out here at Lake Mead. The early risers were able to get into the water no problem, but people that get here later in the day might find things to be a little bit more chaotic. With this being the only launch ramp here at Lake Mead, wait times are expected to extend past 4 hours. See you later. Memorial Day 2022 off to a fun start at Lake Mead. Dozens of people piled in with their boats and jet skis preparing to spend the day out on the water. To skip the lines, alarm clocks went off as early as 4 a.m.
I have been out here before when it's a 2-hour wait or more, so we thought the earlier we are, the less wait.
A fun day ahead, keeping their spirits high despite the lack of sleep. Others considered parking on the ramp itself, not wanting to risk missing out.
He wanted to spend the night over on the street, and I'm like, no.
I was like, man, we should post up literally in this area just to make sure we get a spot.
Signs at Hemingway Harbor warn visitors of wait times extending past 4 hours. It's what's expected after all other launch ramps at the lake closed down due to low water levels.
The water is down. Like I could remember we were launching right here.
This is going to be ongoing until the lake starts rising again. Unfortunately, that's not in the near future at all.
Jacob Schmidt with Southern Nevada Off-Road Recovery tells News 13 people have gone to extremes to avoid waiting in line. People lacking patience are choosing to go on the outskirts of the boat launch ramp. As he explains, what may sound like a good idea at first can go south in a second.
The top crust of the lake settlement is no longer hard, and then they find out that they sink in to the mud probably about 2 to 3 feet on average.
And while the celebrations may have been fun out on the water, it's people's feelings that might be sinking on the way out.
The problem is if you put the boat in, you still have to get the boat out.
So what's the plan for later?
Yeah, so later we're going to be in the line unless we wait till like middle of the night or something.
Reporting from Hemingway Harbor at Lake Mead, I'm Alyssa Bethencourt.
That was the unofficial start to the summer, but Bree, I don't think anybody can complain about it. Was nice and cool.
Perfect conditions outside today. We were just hanging on to those 80s, so I know it was a great treat here for Las Vegas. Right now, though, clouds and radar, really not much action happening. I know those winds also started to calm down from this past weekend. Overall, though, we have cooled still about 5 to 10 degrees here across the region from this point yesterday. Temperatures now, though, we're still hanging on to 82. Las Vegas, Harry Reid at 81, and then even coming a little bit over towards the lake, 78, Red Rock at 75, and a little chilly, Mount Charleston at 55. Tonight we're dropping down to a low of 65, but tomorrow we are going to start on this warming trend again. We are up to 87. Mostly sunny skies. Those winds will start to pick up later on in the week, and a warm up is on the way. I'm tracking that out coming up.
Thanks, Bree. Well, all new at 5, investigators here at Channel 13 say 2 rival motorcycle gangs were involved in the shooting on US 95 Sunday that sent 7 people to the hospital. 3 suspects have been arrested. Anchor Abel Garcia joins us live from Horizon Drive and US 95 in Henderson, close to where that shooting took place. What happened, Abel?
Yeah, Dave, Henderson police say members of both Hell's Angel and the Vagos motorcycle gang were involved in that shooting that took place on Sunday. And that shooting actually taking place very close to where we're standing right now. And we spoke to the former leader of the Hell's Angels, and he says that this rivalry has been going on for a decade. But he says most recently, tensions are at an all-time high.
Look at all the backup. We've never ever seen anything like this here.
Jack Gibson is one of thousands of drivers impacted by the heavy traffic on Sunday, a consequence of the shooting that took place on US 95 near College Drive in Henderson.
It was bumper to bumper parking lot for a mile, 2 miles of radius of this. It was absolutely insane.
Gibson says it was nerve-wracking. Police say a shooting between rival outlaw motorcycle gangs unfolded close to his home.
With the stuff going on in Uvalde, Texas and Buffalo, seeing something like that happen not 3 miles from my house was really crazy.
Around noon, law enforcement arrived at the scene and closed US 95 in both directions for hours. Henderson police investigators say members of the Hells Angels and the Vagos motorcycle gangs were involved in the shooting that injured 7. Former Hells Angels leader of the Ventura, California chapter, George Christie, is familiar with the rivalry between the 2 clubs. He says it's been tense for a decade.
Really what it boils down to is territory and egos.
Christie claims back in 2011, a shooting in a Reno casino between the Hells Angels and the Vagos lit the fuse. He also says this past April, there was another shooting in Southern California between both motorcycle clubs. Christie thinks it's possible Sunday's shooting was a reaction to escalating tensions.
It's probably a chance encounter, a meeting. You know, there's an ongoing conflict, and somebody sees a member of the other club, and somebody reacts or possibly overreacts, and the next thing you know, you've got a conflict escalating, you know, right in the middle of traffic.
Christie hopes the conflict can be resolved and peacefully.
This is not productive, and you know, if they're really involved in the sport of riding motorcycles and brotherhood and whatnot, they need to put this stuff behind them, and it's not good for anybody, and it puts people at risk.
As for Gibson, he says this is something you see in a movie.
It's really crazy to see that happen, especially in Little Henderson, Nevada.
The 3 men arrested were booked at Henderson's detention center on multiple felony charges, including attempted murder, battery, and discharging a gun at a vehicle. Henderson police are asking that if you know any additional information to contact them as soon as possible. I'm Abel Garcia reporting live from Henderson near US 95.
Thank you, Abel. Well, Henderson police also now investigating after an officer shot and wounded a suspect while responding to a report of suspicious person attempting to enter some parked vehicles. Police say it happened around 7 a.m. near Boulder Highway and Lake Mead Parkway. Officers arrived, they encountered the suspect, and a foot chase began. Police say the male took out what looked to be a handgun. Officers then fired. According to Henderson police, the gun resulted in being a black replica BB gun. However, investigators are still reviewing the weapon's capabilities. The man shot was taken to a local hospital and is expected to recover. 2 officers were involved but not injured. And a man is wanted for murder in a shootout that left 6 people dead, a dozen injured in Sacramento, California. He's now in custody right here in the Las Vegas Valley. Alicia Pattillo was arrested by Metro Police after detectives learned he was staying at an apartment complex. He's being held in the Clark County Detention Center on an out-of-state warrant. Pattillo will appear in court tomorrow. Sacramento police say he will eventually be extradited to California. And turning now to the developing story out of Uvalde, Texas right now, a live look at the memorial set up at the Uvalde Town Square. And on this Memorial Day, the nation remembering not only those who served in our wars, but also the 21 victims of the Uvalde school shooting. And now the Department of Justice opening a review into the shooting as questions grow about law enforcement's response. New video obtained by ABC News shows the horror after the gunman opened fire at Robb Elementary. Police officers breaking windows trying to rescue children. 9-year-old survivor Daniel Garza remembering the moment he saw the shooter.
Where he's like staring at like people through a little window.
And what was he doing?
He was just like standing there with his gun, like tapping on like the window.
Funerals begin today for some of the victims. They'll be taking place almost every single day for the next 2.5 weeks. Still to come tonight at 5, changes coming soon to the Tropicana and I-15 interchange, when the project is slated to begin and how long it'll take.
I'm John Matarese. That summer road trip is getting more and more expensive this year, and it's not just gas prices. Some things you can do about it coming up.
Welcome back. Well, for 2 years now, many people saved money by taking road trips instead of paying for expensive airfares. But with the rising cost of gas and hotels, are road trips still a good idea? Well, consumer reporter John Matarese takes a look at how to save on those summer road trips so you don't waste your money.
Doug Pletcher and his dog are taking a road trip. Rusty. In his 30-foot pull-behind camper, but with his pickup truck guzzling diesel fuel.
7 miles at a gallon, $5.50 a gallon.
Doug has decided to shorten his trip. Other travelers taking a break at this rest stop told us gas prices are starting to hit their travel plans too. Robert Thompson says he'll have to cut costs somewhere to make up for it.
It's a little tough, but we want to go out and see family, and so we're just biting the bullet.
But high gas prices are far from being the only thing making your summer road trip more expensive. Once you get to your destination, you can expect to pay a lot more too. Hotel? Paula Twidell with AAA says mid-ranged hotel prices are up more than 40% this year, with average rates of $200 or more. Renting a car? That'll now cost you about $100 per day.
If I'm going for a week, I'm paying $700, $800 for a car. So it starts to get quite expensive.
She says inflation won't stop people from traveling, but expects RVers to drive fewer miles.
So you're going to probably see less people taking campers. Keep in mind, last year and the year before, campers were very popular because it was a way for you to kind of contain your environment.
Paula's best advice to save on your summer road trip: pack food and book a suite with a kitchen. If you're visiting an attraction like Disney, stay off property. Look for member discounts like those offered by AAA and find out if there's a discount for paying in full. Lastly, don't wait.
People cannot wait for that great deal that they think is down the road.
So plan early and book early, and that way you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese.
And Bree Guy's doing our weather today. Since it's unofficially summer, does that mean now we start getting really hot?
Yes, we're not staying cool for too long. We're just going to continue here on the up and up. Those 100s in sight here in the forecast. Right now, though, pretty quiet here across radar. Now, we do still have this area of low pressure continuing to spin off here towards our east, really wreaking havoc there for the upper Midwestern plains. But us, again, we're pretty quiet. We have clear skies right now. 24-hour temperature change. We have cooled down still, even a little bit from this point yesterday, about 5 to 10 degrees here across the region. Now, temperatures here, Las Vegas still hanging on to 81, so very comfortable for Las Vegas standards for this time of year. We're running about 5 to 10 degrees below average. West Henderson at 81, Nellis at 85, and Mount Charles